Hey guys, welcome back to Money Making Mondays, where we take properties that are on the market in the Puerto Vallarta or Bahia de Banderas area, and we take a look at them, analyze them, look at comparable Airbnbs, and then finally look at the numbers on a spreadsheet to see what it costs and how much money it makes to have a property in Puerto Vallarta. So today, by popular demand, we are going right onto the water in downtown Puerto Vallarta in Zona Romantica. We're kind of in an area called Amapas, which is kind of in between Zona Romantica downtown and Conchas Chinas, which is like a bunch of big properties on the steep hillside looking over the ocean. It is beautiful. So this blue star here is the property, has the pool right there. You're right on the ocean. Well, actually, it's across the street from the ocean, but for this strip of beach, that is as close as you are going to get. So just up the beach is the iconic Los Muertos Pier that is at the end of the Malecon, which runs all the way up here and down into Centro across the bridge down into downtown Puerto Vallarta. So Zona Romantica is like where a lot of the partying happens. That's where a lot of the fun is. That's where a lot of the action is, the shows, the events. This is where a lot of that takes place. So let's take a look at what exactly we're looking at here. So we're looking at a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo that is just over 1,000 square feet, 1,069 at 550,000 US dollars. Now let's keep in mind that this has been on the market for quite some time at, wow, over a year. It is a lot slower of a market here. Things don't move as quickly, which is fair for an investment with not as many financing options. It's bound to happen. Let's take a look at the photos here just to get a better idea of what we're looking at here. It's an older, I believe it was 90s building, 1999. Yeah, it's a little patio in front. There's your typical white stucco building. There's your views from the deck. And that beach is beautiful. Okay, now inside, nothing crazy, no crazy updates. It's fairly traditional, but functional. We got AC, we got fans, we got furniture. It comes fully furnished. Nothing over the top or modern, but it's all there. I kind of like having this little peekaboo window. You can close that, but it's kind of nice to pop up out of bed and see nothing but ocean in the morning as well, not only for you, but for your guests as well. Second room is set up as a bed/office. Such a cool spot. Great vacation spot. Gym, underground parking, pool, and the ocean right there. What else do you need? Okay, so let's take a look at some comparables on AirDNA. So the average growth rate for rental income amounts is 8% quarterly. So I'll show you where that's applicable later. I apply a 8% yearly increase in prices just to calculate what future growth could possibly look like. So Playa Bonita, I believe that is one of ours that we're looking at here. Yes, it is. So this one, they have days available, 219 out of 365, average daily rate of 265, and an occupancy rate of 58% per night. Now, I do want to talk about Airbnb quite a bit because it's just like every other thing. It's a business, right? So these guys, you can see they have 18 reviews, all at 5 stars, which is phenomenal. They don't rent it out as much as some do. This is a fairly well-run place. Like, let's pick an arbitrary date in the winter time. There's not much to choose from, which is a good sign. So they're charging $350 a night in the winter. That's cool. Yeah, so they're doing well. That's a good functioning Airbnb, although it could be better. The marketing is not done very well. These photos, as you can see, are from 2017. How up to date is that? I don't know, but room for growth for sure. Airbnb is very much so about the product, the service, right? So let's find another one here. Why is it always so hard to find these after the fact? Okay, this is one of them. So this one, they're available 294 days out of the year. So that could mean, 2 months out of the year, it's not available because maybe the owners live in it. or for whatever other reason. Average daily rate of $223 a night at 64% occupancy, pulling in $44,000 of revenue. Now, just keep in mind that those numbers are fairly arbitrary because there are fees and stuff to be processed, and that's why I put everything in the spreadsheet so you can see exactly how much money it's making, because I use the numbers that are pre all the fees, so then we don't have to deal with that. So again, I picked an arbitrary date in January at $335 a night. It's a beautiful looking place, and also let's just notice how these guys actually did a really good job of marketing. Not only do they have quality photos, but things are labeled. Like Blue Chairs, the hotel resort, and they have an arrow showing to that's our pool, so everyone in that condo gets use of it. It's a little bit more modern. The seating, it looks good, but these are just wooden benches with cushions on them. I don't know how comfortable that will be, but aesthetically pleasing nonetheless. Everything's labeled, tons of information, tons of good quality photos. It really shows the space for what it is, which is what you need to do in this game. Real estate and Airbnb, a lot of it is the same. You need to paint a good picture and have quality service and marketing. So look at that one. Let's just run through them here. This one, I believe, impeccable. Where is this one? Okay, so this one is only available 108 days out of the year. So who knows what that can mean, but in their 108 days, they're getting 94% occupancy. So if you do things properly, if you price things right, if you get good reviews, you have good systems in place, you can have occupancy that high. I run all my numbers based off of 75% occupancy, unless we're dealing with a property in an area that has a lower average occupancy rate. So because they're only available 108 days out of the year, so that's still pretty good. They're looking at like that's 100 days out of their 108 they're renting it out. So let's take a look at that one. I picked a random day in December and it's $244 a night. Nice beach view, ocean view, nice looking newer modern condo. It's pretty nice. Absolutely. This is just a couple buildings down the street from the subject property that we're looking at. This place is beautiful. Great. They did a great job on that at $244 a night, which is probably what they need to do. They need to keep a lower rate if you're only going to be renting it out so much in order to entice people to get them in, to gain your traction, gain your reviews, and gain momentum within the algorithm of Airbnb. Just looking at these other ones, $350 a night for this one. This again is just down the road. All these are in the same area that we're looking at. This one might actually be in the same building. Maybe not. But anyways, this is the one we looked at with the time-stamped videos. I love that. These guys have a lot of room for improvement on their marketing. As you see, there's not as much detail, and it doesn't clearly paint the picture of where you're going to be staying as it did the other one. Is another nice one. This one is a lot lower rate. They only have this available like 50 days of the year. They only have 53 reviews, so this is a very part-time business for them. Another one at $360 a night. They got 10 reviews at averaging out at 4.8 stars. That's not bad. Old photos, or a old photo. Not a bad looking place. Cool, it has the brick floor instead of brick walls. That's all good. Nice. Okay, so looking at a few of these different places, I plugged it into the spreadsheet. Okay, so we got asking price of $550 USD, which is 478 Canadian. While our Canadian dollar is not doing so well. So after closing costs, which we calculate at 6%, even though it's closer to between 3 and 4% usually, but it can go up and it can be as high as 6, so we calculate it at 6. Furniture, just a small budget, just to add some things to make it a functional Airbnb, coming out to a total of $800,000 Canadian. Your expenses are a little bit different. The strata is fairly high, and it covers your electricity and your Wi-Fi, but not your gas and your water, which is usually the exact opposite. That's just what it's telling me in the listing. There could be some false information on there, but that's okay. And just so you know, I label everything. Everything that's green is in Mexican pesos. Everything is blue is US dollars, which is just basically the initial asking price. And red is Canadian dollars. I didn't want to confuse anyone thinking like green is profit, red is loss. That is not the case here. So your total operating costs every month are like $1,400, which that is definitely not correct. That needs to be changed. So anyways, we're looking at, again, I was talking about I used a 75% occupancy rate, 25% management rate. And what I did is I took the low, high, and kind of average nightly rates. So 375, that could be possible in the future. But for right now, I put it as a 275 nightly rate, just to have some people running through it, get reviews, building the business. So this is going to be like your first year. This is going to be your average weekly income for that. And then minus all those other things, you're coming out with $3,246 of income every month, which comes out to just under $40,000 a year. So where this starts to get fun, just before that, cash on cash return of 4.87%. Nothing to cry home about, but you have a property that's making you money that you can use whenever you want, and you have free accommodations. It's a beautiful thing. So here's when things get interesting. So being that in our last video, I talked about there are some other ways to make you money when you have an investment property in Puerto Vallarta. So one of the things I like to look at is the increase in the Mexican peso. The Mexican peso has been one of the top performing currencies in the last year. I think it's number 2 behind the Russian ruble. And when you look at it compared to the Canadian dollar, it's gained between 20 and 25% in the last year, depending on which day you look at it. Some days it's as low as 18 because obviously it fluctuates. But so what I did is I calculated that if year 2 or a whole year of having your profits, and because you get a property, so you go through the hoops and get your residency, which gives you a tax number, and then you can open up a bank account. And holding your profits in Mexico alone is, I gave a number of 7%. Let's say the Mexican peso outperforms the Canadian dollar by 7% in the year that you are holding this property, or the first year they're holding this property, right? And the second thing is there is a lot of options for investment banking. So Mexico is really digging into the credit markets as they try to fund more infrastructure projects to bring up the economy and provide more jobs, et cetera, and just being able to sell more products on the open market. So I have an investment banker connection where they have the average, or like the starting amount for government-backed securities and investment vehicles that are all guaranteed is 11.5%. And I have friends that have money sitting in a GIC on a 6-month term paying out 13%. And somehow, I don't know how, but they do it so it pays out on a daily basis. I don't know how that works. So I did a calculation just briefly looking at if you did it on a weekly basis. So I added those two things in, a 13% GIC over a 6-month term and a 7% increase in the peso versus the Canadian dollar, so that if you keep your income in Mexico, you are building that, as opposed to sitting in a bank account in Canada where it is just being devalued. It's a very inflationary environment. So 6 months of profit, this is half of your yearly profit, put into a GIC at 13%, and then you take that along with your next 6 months of profit and you loop them all together in another 6-month GIC, and then you add to that the 7% increase of the Mexican peso. This is just a hypothetical number. If it happened to be 25 or 20 or 15, obviously these numbers would be even higher. So you're getting a realized gain from the GIC and the exchange combined of $20,000 on top of your $40,000. That's a fairly substantial increase. I don't know if this 42, 41. Yeah, that's a 34% increase in your money in a year. And then also we could factor in things like your neighborhood increase in rate. So they have a quarterly, right? Quarterly, so 4 times a year, the average price to rent an Airbnb goes up by 8%. So what I did is I took that all apart and calculated as 1 year to be conservative. And that would turn, oh, these are numbers based on a different calculation I did. But either way, that adds a little extra, because once you get down to it, I think it would add like an extra $3,000 or $4,000 per year to this number. So $60,000. You just went from having just under $40,000 of income to having $60,000 of income just by keeping it in the country and reinvesting it to make your money make more money, which is what this is all about. So, I mean, if you have the cash, whether you need to liquefy some things, whether you need to pool some money with others, if I had this option when I was looking at buying a condo in Chilliwack or a house in Chilliwack, I would likely do this. I bought only investment properties. I didn't buy where I lived anyways. So this would have been a sweet option. Now, of course, I am opening up a business as well that manages things through Airbnb to make you guys the most amount of money. So that's the goal here, just to help everyone make more money and help them make their money make them more money. So that is Casa, Playa, Los Muertos in Puerto Vallarta in the romantic zone. And we will see you next Monday for the next breakdown on Money Making Mondays. Take care, guys.